Good morning. Welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy, and thank you for joining me today. I want to share a little article that I ran across when I was doing some research. I've shared quite a bit about my family, and one of the things that I shared is that I've lost both of my brothers. And what I haven't shared is that both of my brothers worked at the same company. Matter of fact, my father and both my brothers worked at this company. My father, he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was diagnosed at stage 4. He had retired from this company and miraculously survived. He survived, and this was 16 years ago. My brothers both worked at this company, and my one brother, my younger brother, I'm the very youngest, but I have me and my oldest brother. My oldest brother and I are 3 years apart. We're all Irish twins. And my other brother and I were 15 months apart. So my brother that was 15 months older than me, he died during the COVID pandemic. And he had a stroke. And my other brother passed away 1 year ago. And, it was a really hard week. And he passed away 1 year ago from cancer. It completely consumed him. So I want to read this article about the company that they worked for. It's called Mosaic. And Mosaic likes to stay a very private company, but they are everywhere. They're everywhere. And I want to read the story that was I want to read this article because it's not a story, it's an article, and it's the facts. Mosaic Company, $84 million sinkhole repair complete in Mulberry. Now, Mulberry is a small town that is, if you're going on your way from Central Florida towards Tampa, you can take State Road 60. Mulberry. The Mosaic Company on Wednesday announced it had completed an $84 million repair of a sinkhole below a gypsum stack at its New Wales fertilizer manufacturing plant nearly 2 years after it led to the release of about 215 million gallons of contaminated water into the Florida aquifer. The sinkhole became a minor environmental problem for the company, but a major public relations disaster. It sounds like it was the opposite. It was a major environmental problem and a minor public relations disaster. The sinkhole opened on September 5th, 2016 at the plant southwest of Mulberry, but the company did not make a public announcement of the accident until 10 days after inquiries from the media. So the question is were they even going to say anything or just see if anybody was going to catch it? The announcement led to a public backlash from hundreds of residents near the plant. I'm sure. What about all the people that worked at that plant? My brothers worked at that plant. But, when they died, they named the break room after them. So I guess that makes it okay. Public officials from Governor Rick Scott to the Polk County Commission joined the chorus of criticism about the company's silence. But Mosaic officials continue to assure the public that the aquifer contamination has been contained within a few hundred yards of the sinkhole, as indicated by more than 80 monitoring wells set up at the plant. The company immediately set up recovery wells to pump the water out of the aquifer. Like when you throw a drop of water into a lake, you can just pump that right out. And will continue to do so for the next several years, as long as testing shows even traces of contamination in the water, said David Jefferson, Senior Director of Gypsum Engineering and Environmental Projects at Mosaic, who led the repair effort. We continue to see no impact, says spokeswoman Callie Neslin. Let's get a man and a woman to make a statement. Maybe it'll be more believable. In a Wednesday phone interview with Jellerson, referring to test of residential wells within a 4-mile radius of the sinkhole. We've been sharing those results with the residents, and they've been posted on our website. So they set up a special website. Gypsum is a byproduct of phosphate fertilizer. And, phosphate is destroying the planet. There's too much phosphate. It's getting in our bodies, and it's making us sick. It's destroying our enzymes. So it says on August 27th, a Mosaic technician monitoring the stack noticed a substantial drop of about 2 feet on the pond level. The company reported 9 days later, a sinkhole opened up that completely drained the pond. The company immediately reported the accident to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. You know, those 3-letter agencies that we all trust. But neither the company nor the department made a public announcement because officials believed the contamination could be contained on the site. And it posed no threat to public drinking water. So, you know, let's not tell anybody. Let's just keep it on the down low. But they came to regret that decision after the word of the accident leaked out to the Central Florida media. And it was probably from the people that worked there. So Governor Scott visited the plant on September 27th to view the sinkhole and talk to Mosaic officials. So anyway, the repair involved drilling into the bottom of the sinkhole approximately 220 feet from the top of the gypsum stack. So 220 feet deep, which was covered by hardened rocks of gypsum. The plan called for filling the cracks between the bottom with a cement-like substance called grout, making the bottom of the sinkhole impermeable to further water infiltration. So, and you know, we also had heavy rains that summer, and so the project didn't go as planned because it was too hazardous for the workers to do. So it took 18 full-time workers plus others. I'd be curious to know how the health is of these 18 workers that were working on that. Because, you know, when my first brother died during COVID, his bones wore out. He had a bad hip, so he had to get a hip replacement. At 51, he got a hip replacement. And so when he went to go back to work, they wouldn't let him come back to work because he had to take blood thinners. So he had to go off blood thinners so he could go back to work and keep his job. And guess what? My brother died from a massive stroke from a blood clot. Then, 2 years later, my other brother died from cancer. Completely ate him up. They both worked at the same plant and practically the same spot. And, you know, my brother suffered tremendously. In his last days that he was laying in that hospital bed, withered up, a fraction of a former shell of himself. Miserable, gasping for breath. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I said to my brother, you know, had you known working at this place that 1 out of every 4 people that work in that plant is going to die from cancer, would you have been a little more careful and made sure that you were covered, your face was covered, you know, your nose was covered, your mouth was covered, your skin was covered, that you guys advocated for showers in the plant and laundry services so you could wash off all of this contamination before you brought it home to the family, and then introduced all of these uniforms into the washing machine with the family's clothes? I mean, I'd be interested to see how water samples came out from behind my brother's house. You know, because their washing machine just drains out into the yard. So all that contamination's going into a stream that's right behind their house. And to my sister-in-law and my nephews. You know? And what about my other brother? He has a wife and 2 daughters. What about all the contamination that's been brought home from these families, to these families, from the people that work at this plant? I mean, folks, we really got to stop being materialistic. And what do we need so much fertilizer for? You know, we don't need that. There's natural ways that you can fertilize. We don't need all of that. We don't need to be digging up the ground, poisoning the planet. That's the way I feel about it. I personally feel like if my brothers had not worked at Mosaic and not been informed about the hazards, had they been informed the actual hazards of working in a company like that they would have taken precautions and my brothers would still be alive today. So I just thought it was important that we all know what these companies are doing to the mother. Mother's being the planet's being poisoned, you know, and they're cashing checks and breaking necks. So it's been 16 minutes, and I just thought it was important to bring some awareness about these big businesses and the things that happen, and how if it hadn't been for the Lakeland Ledger being made aware of this sinkhole, do you think that Mosaic would have ever breathed the word, and that they would have just tried to CYA? If you ask me, I think they probably would have just chose to CYA. They like to keep their business private. So with that, I encourage everyone to go on YouTube and watch the documentary that was done about Cargill/Mosaic and their business practices, if it's still there, that is. So with that, I thank you for spending 11 minutes with me this morning. And when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, the present, and the future, all at the same time. So I hope to catch you on the next one, and thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.